Hello everyone, my name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about Drown, written by Junot Diaz. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Drown is a short story within the Drown short story collection. It can get confusing because the title of this collection of short stories and this short story are the same. So that can get confusing. But the title of this short story is called Drown. And it's it's a chilling story from my perspective. Basically what happens is that we continue with the life of Junior. We keep learning about Junior's life, his immigration from the Dominican Republic to the United States. It's very this short story is very chilling because of what happens to Junior. So, if you're keeping track of these short stories and you're going through them, you can see that Junior doesn't really have the best relationships. He doesn't have the best relationship with his family members. His brother and him, they lived together when they were children. But they weren't really close. Junior wasn't close with his brother. He wasn't close with his sister. He wasn't close with his father. I guess you can say his mom is the only one where they have some type of relationship. In this short story, we get a little bit about more about the relationship between Junior and his mom, and how they live together and how they exist together, and they get along. In this short story, it's just them two living with each other. The mom pays the rent, and Junior pays for like the cable and some other, I guess, low-level bills. And Junior is, he's a dealer. He's dealing drugs, and he pretty much uses that money to pay bills and other things that he needs to pay. So he lives a life of like he's shoplifting. He's selling narcotics. He's doing a lot of things that could get him behind bars. That doesn't happen to him within this short story, but he lives a very dangerous life. And in this short story, the way that it's written, it doesn't seem like it. But in this short story, the way that it's written, it's he pretty much gets raped. Which is very, it's something that in society we don't talk about, men being raped, but that's pretty much what happens. He's, his best friend Beto, this dude is his best friend. They've been best friends since kids. And, well, from my perspective, I don't think that they have a good influence on each other because him and Beto, within the short story, they go shoplifting together. They do a lot of things together. They hang out. They have fun together, but they're not really helping each other better themselves within society. Beto is going off to college within the short story, and Junior's not going anywhere. He just graduated high school, but he's not doing anything with his life. He's just getting by, and Beto was his friends. And throughout the short story, we just get an account of him and Beto, and how Beto pretty much raped him 2 times. And the way that it's written within this work, it's not really... The way that it happens, if you're reading quickly, you could just literally read by, because the thing is, like, when you talk about a subject that's this difficult, you would imagine that... Well, it's kind of like he just tells us about it and what happened and his experience, and the story just keeps on moving, right? There's certain accounts of assault that it stops you in your tracks, and you feel that horror and that pain. But here it's kind of like it happened, but you don't understand it. You're kind of confused and you're kind of lost because you're like, what's just happened? So basically, him and Beto, they're friends. They're best friends. We get an account of Beto and his family members. Apparently, Beto and his father, they watch a lot of adult films together. And then during this one instance, this one scene where Beto and Junior are watching these films together, and then Beto just decides to put his hands down Junior's pants, and Junior is kind of like, he doesn't know what's happening. He's like, I don't want this, but it happens. And it's a very awkward and weird moment. And I mean, that's his best friend. He doesn't want to lose his best friend, but what's being happened to you, I don't like. How do you confront it, especially when you're a man? Because as a man, you're supposed to be manly. You're supposed to, fight your own battles. But this happens to him, and Junior doesn't fight Beto. It just happens. And I guess you could say, well, why didn't he fight back, or why didn't he just stop, Beto's hand? But it's a moment of utter shock, and it's weird. It's very weird what happens and how it's explained. But it happens twice. The second, after it happens the first time, Junior actually goes back to Beto, hangs out with him again, and goes back to his house, and Beto does it to him again, and then they stop talking and they never talk again. Beto goes off to college, Junior moves on with his life, and they don't ever talk about it again. And this story kind of leaves you in a place where you don't, it's kind of like this kid, he's doing a lot of bad stuff, he can get in trouble, he has this relationship with his mother that's not really that good. They feel like they live in a bad neighborhood. They're checking windows before they leave their apartment. It's not a safe place. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things that are ill-advised. And these two best friends, who you would have thought they would be best friends, they put each other in difficult situations. So Drown is just. I guess it kind of like fits the title, because like when you're drowning, you're kind of like there's something heavy on top of you, or you feel the strength of the water, the power of the water. You're being suffocated, and Junior is a character that is being suffocated. He always has to keep his head behind his shoulders, always looking over his shoulders. He has this friend who he thought he trusted, but his friend did that to him. His family ties are really horrible. He has a bad relationship with his brother, his mother, his father. His mother is so. It's like Junior lives in this world where he has no place, and he's constantly struggling to survive, whether it is financial reasons, emotional reasons, sexual reasons. And these horrible things keep happening to him. And Beto, who was pretty much the first person we've been introduced to that had Junior's back, he gets assaulted. It's a very difficult and tough story, especially if you've read the other stories and where he comes from and where his family comes from. You feel there's so much emotion in here. Not like crying out, bawling. It's just when you read what happens within Junior's life, and this to happen to him too, it's just, man, how much can one kid take? It's a lot to take. In terms of deeper meaning, in terms of analysis here, we know that Junior is a smart kid. We know that he has a lot of things dragging him down. I think that kind of brings us back to the whole Drown title, because his family ties, his friendship ties, and I guess you can even say his lack of education, because we learn here that he graduates high school and there isn't really a plan for the future. So yeah, you can see that he's worried about his mother, because he knows that his dad is a horrible person, because his dad is cheating on his mom. Even in this short story, his father wants his mom to move back to move to Florida to be with him, but he knows his dad has another woman that he's with, and his father's no good, and that he'll keep on cheating on the mother. So this kid is dealing with issues in every side: the family side, the education side, the upward mobility side, the friendship side. Is just like everybody he meets, you know, everyone in his world has a bad side to them, and he's kind of like drowning in navigating the world. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to take in. Um, but yeah, that's the short story. That's what happens within it. You see the community that he lives in, the people that he hangs around with, and how he's pretty much, from my perspective, I think he's alone in the world, and he's drowning by himself because he literally has no one to confide in, and no one to pull him out or be there for him. And I think this is why he goes back to Beto the second time, and it happens to him again, because he's like, man, I really don't want to lose Beto, because Beto is the only one I got, my only friend that I can confide in and be with. But Beto is taking advantage of him too, and using him. So yeah, that is Drown. This is not Drown the entire collection of short stories. This is just Drown, the short story Drown, and yeah, that's you can definitely see the ideals, the family ties, the betrayal, the assault, and the shock of it. And even though this happened to him, the way it's written, the way that, well, from my perspective, I think it's unwanted advancements, because he didn't want Beto to do that to him twice or once. He didn't want it, but Beto did it anyway. So by those terms, that is rape. And then he keeps going back to Beto when those things were happening to him, because he didn't want to lose the only person he had in the world that he can be himself and open up to. It's a really tough short story. But yeah, that's my view on it. That's my perspective. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.